What's going on, you guys? So, the whole argument of Canelo Alvarez fighting Mexican fighters, right? I wonder how a lot of Mexican boxing fans feel about this when he comes out and says things like this. So that means basically no other Mexican fighter in or around his weight class will never get an opportunity to share the ring with Canelo Alvarez, right? Last guy we seen that was Mexican that shared the ring with him was Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and we see how that fight looked, right? But Canelo Alvarez, for the longest time now, has been on this European tour, beating up on all these European fighters. And your boy Bushido Ben noticed it. Actually, I noticed a lot of things in boxing. Why? Because I follow other sports, other combat sports. So I see how those sports I ran, those guys may not make as much money as boxers, but they do right by the sport, and they got to fight the other top killers. Other top 10 guys, they got to fight the best top guys very consistently. And in boxing, that's not always the case. And Canelo Alvarez is fighting his mandatory and Irene Uterman. What did Irene Uterman do to deserve a shot at Canelo? Well, nothing really, right? David Benny. David Benavidez lost his belt on the scales, and then Canelo saw an opening to go up in there in 168 and unify the division. Prior to that, he had no interest in unifying or doing anything of the sort. In the past, Canelo Alvarez never seemed eager on unifying divisions or fighting mandatories, right? Back when Jamal Charlo was his mandatory, they put a franchise tag on him, And that's a problem. You're supposed to be the face of boxing. You're supposed to be the pound-for-pound king, but yet you're getting all this assistance from the powers that be. Certain fighters will never get an opportunity to fight Canelo. And when he came out and said that he don't want to fight Mexican fighters, he also wanted to say, I don't want to fight black fighters, because that's something that he hasn't been doing. Now, one may say Danny Jacobs, but yeah, Danny Jacobs was a fighter that's fallen down the hill, and he really hasn't looked good since the Gennady Golovkin fight. And he's not necessarily a slick, athletic, twitchy black fighter that typically gives Canelo Alvarez problems, right? Now, all of a sudden, Canelo is looking to unify. It sucks in boxing today that you have all these talented fighters, right, looking to either fight Pacquiao, Triple G, or Canelo Alvarez, right? Nobody's really trying to build their own legacies. We really witnessing a black murderer's row without really, seeing it, right? A lot of these black fighters in boxing today is chasing these foreign guys, right? Because that's where the money is at. But they gonna have to make their own money and build their own legacies, man, because these dudes ain't trying to fight y'all. The Crawford Spences, man, Pacquiao not fighting you. The Charlo Andres, man, Canelo ain't fighting y'all. So what you gonna do, right? Canelo been on this European tour for the past, 3 or 4 years now, fighting guys like Rocky Fielding, Callum Smith. Those dudes stood no chance against him. See, Canelo Alvarez, I like his fighting style. I'm a fan. But his fighting style is limited. And it's not limited because of a skill thing or anything like that. It's just how the universe made Canelo Alvarez. He's a short, stockier guy with short legs. His feet ain't the fastest. So certain guys with athleticism, speed, range, they're going to give him trouble every night out. They probably bring these type of guys into the gym a lot for him to get some sparring work, and he probably just don't look good against those dudes. So they're not going to put him in there in a real fight against those type of dudes. And it's kind of unfortunate, boxing. We really don't know who the best fighter is, honestly. We can only assume. We can only go off the eye test. It's not nobody that's truly proven to be the best. I can't call Canelo Alvarez the best in the world from fighting Callum Smith. And then it's not like a situation to where Canelo Alvarez is an avoided fighter that has a hard time getting fights. He's not. He's the guy that can fucking get anybody in the world to fight him. Pacquiao is more or less the same, except Pacquiao is more of a proven legend. He's on his way out. So he can kind of get a pass to kind of pick and choose to do what he do. However, if he turns around and fights Ryan Garcia in a real fight, not an expedition, a real fight, then that's a problem. And I'm going to have a video going in on it. Because I got a video talking about, people shouldn't overreact if it's a play match, But if it's a real fight, then that's a whole different thing entirely. And it's a smack in the face to guys like Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. This is a smack in the face to boxing. It wouldn't even be right. So I'm going to hold out on that and see what really happens. I'm going to see if it's a real fight or if a fake fight. But if it's a real fight, that's a huge problem. And this is just some of the problems that comes along with boxing. You got dudes calling themselves the face of boxing, but they're not willing to take on all faces. Now you want to unify the division. Now you want to, do all this and that. Why? Because it's an open season over there. There's no guys up there that's going to give you really no problems right now. But back when you was at 154, you had no intentions on unifying. You didn't want to fight Demetrius Andrade when he was WBO champion. Until he lost that belt, then that's when you decided to go ahead and fight for that belt. Then you move up to 160. You avoid the guys there. Now you move up to 168. You're still trying to avoid these guys. You can't avoid, if you're the face of boxing, if you're the pound-for-pound king, you should be looking to fight any and everybody. You should be able to show the world that you could beat any style. That's the best fighter to me. A guy that could beat any style. Anybody you put in front of him, he's going to beat him. And Canelo Alvarez really hasn't proven that. Honestly, let's look at it. Canelo Alvarez hardly ever separates himself from the opposition unless he's in there with a turkey. So whenever somebody was in there that can give him some real resistance, guess what? It was a controversial decision, or it was some type of controversy, right? Or when he usually fights a tough opponent, it's always some type of rehydration clause or some type of catch or some type of stipulation. It's never a straight up fair fight, man. There's always some bullshit that comes with Canelo, and it makes it hard for you to be a really diehard fan of the guy. Because it's very political when you're dealing with Canelo Alvarez. I mean, we witnessing a black murderer's row right before our very eyes, except these black fighters aren't fighting each other either. They kind of circling around each other, waiting for these Canelo paydays, waiting for these certain opportunities. And boxing is just in a big mess right now. It's in a bad state. I don't think a lot of you guys really realize it. Maybe I see it because I follow other combat sports. I'm a kickboxing guy. I follow Muay Thai. I follow MMA, and those guys, they don't make as much money at all, but they got to fight the other killers, man. They got to fight the other killers. That's why those dudes got losses. That's why they got losses on their record. Why? Because they fighting other killers. One mistake is all it takes. It's a game of inches once you get to a high level. You know what I'm saying? But Canelo fighting Ivory Uterman, bro, why did he deserve a title shot? Still, even now, we've seen Chris Eubanks Jr. run this dude out the ring. But Canelo go up in there and play around with him for a little bit. He's going to make a lot of money to beat up on a guy that he's been sparring with, and a guy that hasn't really proven to be, a world beater by any means, But they go ahead and sanction that fight. They're not going to put a franchise title on Canelo to fight Ivory Uterman. They go ahead and let that one go. Instead of just letting universe and history play its course, these guys are really orchestrating and manipulating certain things to keep certain fighters in position. And that's why I stress that guys like Charlo and Andrade should fight each other. That's why I stress that Spence and Crawford need to fight each other. Why? Because the black fighters need to build their own legacy, man, because these dudes ain't trying to give them a shot. Black Murderers Road 2.0. Like, subscribe, Hodge Boy. Peace out.